Hello, my lovely doodles. Welcome to my first story time. Okay, so to start this story off, I want to preface it by saying that I live in the upper Midwest of the United States. I'm not going to say which state, but let's just say I live in a mitten. So, in this said mitten, the summers don't get too hot. They do get up to 100 degrees, but that's rare. Usually it stays in the mid 80s to the mid 90s. However, that's no excuse for the story that I'm about to tell you. So a couple years back, my family was shopping at Walmart because we're classy people. Anyway, it was summertime and the thermometer was about 90 that day. Us mitten goers were griping and complaining about the heat. My family especially, since our car didn't have air conditioning that worked. We had to choose between either being hot or getting our faces blown off by the open windows. So I was pretty eager to get out of the car. I stepped out onto the scalding pavement and left to the cool, air-conditioned heaven that was Walmart. After being cooled off for a few seconds, I checked behind me to see that my mom and my brother were nowhere to be seen. They aren't coming, and I look outside to see them standing a few rows away from where we had parked. I was confused, so I decided to investigate. My mother was sitting in one of those buggy carts that Walmart has. She has a metal hip and a bad back, and she was asking my brother all sorts of questions. Do you see anyone? Are they okay? Do you see any water? I was confused at first, and I wanted to tell her to come inside out of the heat. That's when I noticed that in the car that my brother was looking into were two freaking dogs. And these weren't shaved dogs either. No, they were fully furred, swished in nosed, fluffy and panting neighborhood squirrels. That was a Fred reference, in case you didn't catch that. Yeah, keeping it relevant. Anyway, there were these two dogs panting their heads off. The window was cracked a tiny bit, but that was not really helping. I was outraged. I still am. Here are these two little dogs with tiny little noses that are locked into a metal oven. My mom called the animal control while me and my brother tried to figure out what to do to get those poor babies out of the car. The window was cracked open enough so that if I tried, I could fit my arm through. However, being the anxious little bean that I am, I was worried that I would get in legal trouble. Breaking and entering, you know. Plus, if the dogs ran away. Anyway, time kept ticking and a few people had stopped to onlook. My brother kept on saying that he was going to break the window down to get the dogs out, but that would have made things much worse. I made sure that he didn't do anything, and my mother informed me that the animal control were on their way. This is where the story gets interesting. You might think, oh, the animal control came and got the dogs out, and everything was. No. The owner of the dogs came out of the store. My mother asked them if the two dogs in the car were theirs, and they answered that they were. Then my mother explodes, which surprises the heck out of me. See, my mom is a calm and level-headed woman. She tries hard not to curse, and she barely yells. So when I heard her yell, "What the is wrong with you?" I was shocked. So of course this just escalated the situation even more. There was a father, two teenage daughters, and a mother. They all started arguing at my mother at the same time, saying things like, "We just went in the store for 10 minutes. We just went swimming, they're still wet," or "They have water," and so on. First of all, they were not in there for 10 minutes, because we were standing outside looking in the window for about 15 minutes trying to figure out what to do. Next, it doesn't matter if they have water or if they're wet. Those are tiny faced dogs, and the car gets hot. At least 10 degrees more than the outside. I could barely stand it outside without the fur on my body. And why is it okay in your mind to leave the dogs in the car? Why not just leave someone in the car with the keys and the air on? If you were just going in there for 10 minutes, then it obviously wasn't something that required all four of you to go in. Seriously, don't leave your doggos in the hot car. The girls went into the car and grabbed the dogs and showed them to my mom and told them that they were still wet, so they were fine. My mother was not having any of it. They all started to argue very loudly and very publicly. So of course I started to get anxious. However, my brother and mother were there, so it wasn't too bad. My mom was leading the charge, and my brother was here to back her up. Meanwhile, I was just standing behind their car so they couldn't leave. People walking past the cars started to let their opinions out. Some of them agreed with us, some of them were on the dog owner's side, and then there was this one special person. She comes up, entitled enough to share her opinion on the matter. I don't remember when she came in, but I remember her insulting my mother, which made me very angry. My mother is overweight, not like the people you see in all the memes about Walmart shoppers, but she's not small. She has a cane with her and very clearly can't walk well, so she's sitting in a buggy. This woman screams at my mother that she should get a job, calling her lazy, and tells her to go spend her welfare checks on candy and cookies like she always does. This woman didn't even know my mother. Those insults had nothing to do with the dog situation. My mother isn't on welfare. She doesn't spend her money on cookies and candies. She isn't lazy. She raised 3 children all by herself. To make it worse, the man that owned the dogs actually lifted my mother's buggy up, while she was sitting on it, mind you, and tried to move it out of the way of his car. Me and my brother stayed behind so they couldn't leave before animal control got there. Long story short, the animal control came and we left. Funniest thing is that the confrontation behind the car lasted for less than 10 minutes. The mother, 2 daughters, and dogs were in the car. They turned the air conditioning on right away. They couldn't even sit in the car for 10 minutes without AC, yet they expected their dogs to. Pathetic. Please, if you have dogs, don't bring them with you anywhere that you can't bring them in. Leaving them in a car could kill them, even if you think it's just for a short time. So please just don't do it, guys. I know you want to take your dogs everywhere and you love them, you want to like show everybody them, but please don't leave them in the car, it could kill them. So, this is my first story time. This was long, but worth it. Well, it doesn't seem long, but it's long to animate, trust me. So let me know in the comments if anything has happened to you, and tell me if you like these and want me to do more. That's for all for now. Gotta go. Kisses.